Good morning to everybody. I welcome you all for the second day of this 7-day professional development and capacity building program for academicians and professionals organized by Center for Women Empowerment and Women's Studies in collaboration with Institute of Cost Accountants of India. The keynote speaker for today is CMA P. Raju Iyer, Central Council Member, Chairman, Internal Auditing and Assurance Standard Boards. His topic of address is Internal Audit, Changing Dimensions, Domain of Eminence and Excellence. And as our Honorable Vice Chancellor's inaugural address was not audible to some of the participants yesterday, now it is the replay of his inaugural address.
Dear friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. On behalf of MS University, I am delighted to inaugurate the 7 days professional development and capacity building program for academicians and professionals in the context of internal audit and assurance services, future for commerce and finance professionals, striving towards sustainable, scalable, and integrated reporting, organized jointly by Center for Women Empowerment and Women Studies of MS University in association with the Internal Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. The joint efforts of these two premier educational institutions have paved the way for a remarkable beginning for knowledge enlightenment in the internal auditing and assurance services, in particular for the students to make up their career and emerge as successful auditing and risk management professionals. Uh, Dear colleagues and friends, the internal audit is an independent function of management which entails the continuous and critical appraisal of the functioning of an unit with a special focus on possible areas for improvement and how to strengthen and add value to an entity's corporate governance mechanisms. In this context, all the business and non business entities should focus on the risk management areas and deliver the best of its services to the stakeholders. Professionals would play a very important role in the development of risk management techniques and audit control mechanisms, and academicians should supplement and support their activities by undertaking research in the internal auditing and assurance, risk management, and control, integrated and sustainable reporting, etc. It is obvious that there are very interesting differences and comparisons between external and internal audits. While external auditors report to shareholders or members who are outside the organization's governance structure, whereas the internal auditors report to the board and senior management who are within the organization's governance structure. The basic objectives of external audits is to add credibility and reliability to financial reports from the organization to its stakeholders by giving opinion on the report, while internal audits evaluate and improve the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control processes. This provides members of the boards and senior management executives with assurance that helps them to fulfill their duties to the organization and to the stakeholders. While external audits mainly concentrate on financial reports, financial risk reports, financial reporting risk, and on the other hand, internal audits, however, cover all categories of risks, their management, including reporting on them. External audits have no responsibility for improvement, but only have a duty to report the problems. Improvement is fundamental to the purpose of internal audit, but it is done by advising, coaching, and facilitating in order to not undermine the responsibility of the management. By reporting their unbiased and objective view, internal auditors, along with executive management, non executive management, and external auditors, are a critical component of the top level governance of any organization. And in this context, I welcome the resource persons and experts, Sri Balwinder Singh Ji, President, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Raju Ayerji, Central Council Member, Chairman, Internal Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, Sri Murthy Ji, Central Council Member, Chairman, Journal and Publications Committee, Sri Chittaranjan Chattopadhyay Ji, Central Council Member, Chairman, Banking, Finance Services and Insurance Committee, Sri Durga Prasad Ji, former President, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Lavanya, former Chairman, Hyderabad Chapter of Cost Accountants, Rakesh Shankar, Ravi Shankar Ji, Member, IAASB and Assistant Professor of Commerce, DG Vaishnav College, to share their valuable thoughts, expertise to the participants. I'm sure this 7 days program will throw valuable light on global audit perspectives, internal audit to emerge as domain of eminence and excellence, risk-based audit, internal audit focus in banks, MSME sectors, education institutions. Way forward for students and professionals would definitely benefit the students, academicians, industry professionals, cost accountants, and other practitioners to drive home new thoughts and ideas to strengthen and sharpen their skills. In this context, I congratulate our colleague Dr. B. Revati, Professor of Commerce and Director, Center for Women Empowerment and Women Studies of Manonmaniam Sundaranar University, Sri Raju Ayerji, Chairman, Internal Audit and Assurance Standard Board of the Institute, and CMA Rakesh Shankar Ravi Shankar Ji, member IAASB, in making this 7 days program a reality for the benefit of academicians and the professionals, and more importantly, the students. And I'm sure you'll all enjoy this 7 days program. And on behalf of MS University, I have great pleasure in welcoming you all. A very good day, and the program a grand success for the entire 7 days. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Though it is Sunday today, my dear participants, I appreciate all your interest in the program. And another important announcement to the participants is that feedback link of yesterday is posted in the chat box. Those who have not submitted the feedback link of yesterday, kindly fill it up and submit it immediately. May I call upon CMA Rakesh Shankar Ravi Shankar to briefly introduce the resource person of today.
I'm happy to introduce CMA P. Raju Iyer, the resource person for the day. CMA Raju Iyer commenced his career with Sundaram Finance Limited, Lakshmi Hire Purchase Limited, and he has a wide range of experience with Avanti Leathers Limited, Andhra Pradesh as a chief accountant. And then he moved on to the international exposure to the Republic of Maldives as chief accountant to the State Trading Organization. He also had a flying career with the Maldives Air Services Limited and Air Maldives Limited as chief accountant and company secretary. He has served as a financial advisor to the Allied Insurance Company of Maldives Limited, tourist resorts and others. He is a cost accountant and a qualified company secretary with an expertise in the cost accounting, value addition and wealth management areas. He is a practicing cost accountant from the year 2001, and he has served as a council member from 2015-19, and again he has got re-elected from 2019 to 23, heading various committees. He was a chairman of the SIRC of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Southern India Regional Council in the year 2013-14. He is a founder and convener of the Chennai West Study Circle for the Southern India Regional Council of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. He is a treasurer, Consultancy Development Center, DSIR, Ministry of Science and Technology, Chennai chapter. He has been the convener of Online Taxation Forums, Chennai, for the year 2010 to 12. And apart from this business and career insignia. He is associated with a lot of social organizations and he is committed towards the society's development. He was a regional chairperson for the Lions Club International Region 7, District 324A6 in the year 2018-19, and he was a district chairperson for the Lions Club of Swami Vivekananda during the year 2014-17. He holds a prestigious Melvin Jones Fellow, PMJF Lion, as a president of club during 2012-13. He also planted 1,000 trees in the Chennai and the suburbs. He received a Par Excellence President Award from His Excellency Sri Rosaya, the then Governor of Tamil Nadu. He also holds a post of Treasurer Samskrita Bharati, Chennai, which is dedicated to the promotion of art and culture. Apart from this, he is a very kind-hearted, easily approachable person. When you travel from Chennai beach to Tambaram, you just Google cost accountant, you will find Raju Iyer's name being populated by Google. He is so popular among the industry professionals and a very easily approachable teacher to all the students. He has motivated more than thousands and thousands of students to pursue the CMA course. He has attended more than 25 career counseling programs, and he was instrumental in launching the certificate course in GST in the Chennai area. In the first year of initiation, he has trained around 400 students under his ages. And it is under his first leadership, the Institute of Cost Accountants of India has constituted the Internal Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, committed to development of the standards, monographs, other technical materials for internal audit. So I welcome you for the webinar today. The participants are eager to listen to your lecture. Over to CMA Raju Iyer.
Good day. Thank you very much for very elaborative, detailed introduction. I am very much grateful to Manonmaniam Sundaranar University for giving me this opportunity and for coordinating. Respected eminent professionals, good day to you. Respected Dr. K. Pichumani, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. K. Santosh Babu, Registrar, and Dr. B. Revati, Professor of Commerce and Director for Center for Women Empowerment and Women Studies and Organizing Secretary, and who is coordinating arrange this event with CMA Rakesh Shankar. As Rakesh Shankar said, he is a very wide professional and all that. Today, the topic is going to be internal audit, changing dimensions and the domain of eminence and excellence. The topic is so this one that where we will be able to discuss what are the developments which is going to take place and what is the scenario for especially not only finance professionals but the total professionals. One, the changing scenario due to internet and other developments, artificial intelligence, business process options, and so many things which is creating a lot of impact of all the professionals, not only finance, as a faculties also. If you see it today, because of the COVID-19 situation, most of the institutions are starting online classes. It is no other alternative and we are doing it, and how effectively we will be able to conduct, how effectively we will be able to reach the students, that is very critical. Same way, the internal auditing function also, how we can do it, how effectively we can manage the internal audit, that is also very important. Professionalism does not occur overnight. Rather, it's a process that evolves out of focused commitment and dedication, ongoing study and professional growth, high road to ethics, unwavering determination and plan, and old-fashioned hard work. So the hard work is very much important. You have to upgrade and update. If you want to stay where you are, you have to keep on running the famous quote of Alfred Toffler during last century. So today, practically if you take it, if someone who says that I won't go for internet, I won't go for SMS, I won't go for mobile, if he has to travel in train also, by showing the SMS he can travel. For booking the train ticket or airline ticket, whatever it today we are using the mobile, and which has become very handy, and we don't have to take the printed paper or anything. With mobile, you can carry the whole office or whole your system, all your requirement in the mobile. So to be effective, profession also should embrace ethics, quality to commitment, the standards in compliance with the certificate requirements. With all these qualities in mind, we need to emerge as exemplary professionals in the domain of internal auditing and assurance services, moving beyond the compliance requirements of the Act or the regulations. Not only it is for Internal auditing professionals, whether all the finance professionals, whether it's a cost accountant or chartered accountant or engineers or medical professionals or lawyers, for everyone there is a requirement. What is the changes happening previously? Yeah. What is the exemplary professions? What is the requirement? The first clips. The internal audit activity evaluates risk exposure and information system, effective ones of efficiency operation, reliability and integrity, and safeguarding of the assets, and compliance with laws, regulations, and all those things, which yesterday also we have discussed. The resource person, our President CMA, Balbindar Jindri, has explained in detail. Now, what is a audit activity? What is risk exposure? When the audit is done, it is not that just like that we are ticking, comparing with one to the other, like in the olden days. Today, the total scenario changes. All the informations are available by clicking the computer button. And how we are going to do it? The informations are available. How we are going to analyze? How we are going to get the information which is useful to the management? The data is there. How we are going to use the data analytics to get the information what you need? How you are going to analyze that, whether things are moving in the right direction, whether rules and regulations are followed, whether SOPs, operation procedure have been followed, whether all the things have been done, and whether there is a effectiveness and efficiency in the operation, and whether the data and reliability and integrity of not only financial but operational information, and safeguarding all the assets. What all the assets? Tangible assets and intangible assets. Today, the company's brand and the company's image is very, very important, very, very critical. And we know in the last decade and how it has happened to the very famous company Satyam Computers or even Coca-Cola. When there was something wrong with their composition, it has created a very bad image to Coca-Cola. And what has happened recent 2-3 years back, Maggi noodles. So these are all the things safeguarding not only the physical assets but the intangible assets, company's goodwill, brand value, and image, which is very, very important for any organization to survive. Whether it's a small business, whether it's a medium business, or large organization, or corporates, or multinational, the keeping up the name and image is very, very critical and very, very important. As far as physical assets are concerned, there is the insurance and all those things. The internal auditor responsibility to ensure that the insurance are renewed on time and what are the risks to be taken, and the premium should not be very high. The adequate coverage should be there. All the risks to be covered adequately, and what are the risks which can be assumed by the management, that also has to be exposed by the internal auditor. All this evaluation is required. And whether all the rules, regulations, laws, and the contracts, and all those things are whether it is in place. For example, so many laws are there, labor regulation, so many things are there, all those things has to be covered. And what is the exemplary profession? QC. QC means it is not only as an internal auditor is concerned, it is not quality control. Apart from ensuring quality control, it is questioning the cost. Today, unless the any business is cost effective, they will not be able to survive. For surviving in the long term, the cost has to be controlled. Today, the selling price is determined by the market. Whatever the new product comes or existing product is there, whether it's a medical equipment or whether it's a pharmaceutical equipment or electronic equipment, even mobile phone, the selling price is determined by the market. So once the market determines the selling price, the profit is determined by the investor. Investor need not be a promoter. There are investors from the banks, investor, foreign investor, and all those investors need their return. So profit is also determined. Selling price also determined. What is variable? Only cost is variable. So in the cost only, in our costing parameter, we say target costing. So inquire the question all the costs, whether it is required, whether this function is required, whether this additional function will be adding value in the minds of the customers. Those things have to be looked by the internal auditors, because internal auditors is the high-end ear of the management. As Madam has explained just now, the statutory auditors and the vice chancellor has said they are coming once in a year or once in the periodically, and they don't go into minute details. Internal auditor is a management information system, and they only appraise the management on a regular basis. And what is RC? Relevant cost. Whether the cost is relevant, whether it has to be incurred, whether there is any relevancy with the function of the organization. Of course, now we can know that CSR activity, corporate social responsibility, these are all the things required. The CSR also create image for the organization, image for the company. So whether the cost is relevant has to be required and looked into by the internal auditors. What is BSc? Brainstorming session. What is brainstorming? Requiring all the members who are all involved, whether they are from the top or bottom, they will be called and they will be discussing the issues, and all the suggestions will be simply noted down by the moderator. At that time, they will not question it. And once things are there, and they will be evaluating what ideas can be worked into, what ideas can be developed. It is developed firstly in Japan. And whatever the benefit the company is getting, whether it's a cost saving or whether it's a enhanced sales, enhanced revenue, the part will be shared with the person who has given the idea. So brainstorming is very much essential. And of course, the time is short. If there is a time, I will explain to you in the earlier days in Amul what has happened in case of brainstorming. And always today, the internal auditors is looking into re-energize assurance. And by giving a report, it can be assuring to the stakeholders. But how we are going to re-energize? Ensuring that all the things are happening, whatever the report is given, it is good. That way only internal auditors can perform their function. Next slide. What is requirement and why? It is intelligent and agile tool available with the audit committee and board of directors. So board of directors will not be able to involve in day-to-day functions. They are only giving the direction. Same way, audit committee will be meeting periodically, and they are giving the requirement to whether it's an internal auditor or external auditor, and the internal auditor has to perform and report to the audit committee. So internal auditor is a link between the day-to-day operations and the middle level management and top level management, and giving the information to board of directors who are all governing the organization. And what is a value addition in the operational and business process area? To give a simple example, the company will be having necessarily the scrap. It cannot be avoided, and the rejection and the rework will be there. So internal auditor has to evaluate, discuss with the regular quality control department and other operational people how to reduce rejection, how to reduce the rework, so that it will be adding value. So selling the rejection or rework or scrap, after incurring the cost, we are going to sell at a lesser price. So how we can add value by eliminating all these things is the responsibility of internal auditor. And to set the place for operating the key personnel from stakeholders. And what are the tone for capturing the key expectation from the stakeholders? The stakeholders are so many people are there. We'll be seeing who are all the stakeholders in the corporate for the internal audit functions. So it is definitive shift in perception of internal audit function from being a cost center to a profit center. What is a cost center? Where the costs are incurred and the revenue is not generated. But now the concept has become that whether that particular center is able to generate revenue and profit. If the profit is not generated, that activity can be what the management has to decide what to do with the activity. That's the outsourcing and giving to other operating people who can do it efficiently is happening. So profit center concept is very, very important, and internal audit function, one of the main area is to concept on profit center and how it is happening. So stakeholders rely on internal auditors report for all their assurance function, and then only they will feel the confidence by seeing the report. Next slide. So who are all the stakeholders of internal audit? So all these people are stakeholders, including the employee, including the manager, government, top management, risk management, operational excellence, and all these. They are all the stakeholders for the internal audit. What is a stakeholder? They have a stake in the internal audit function. For example, a supervisor has to get the information from the internal auditor whether all his staff are working and following the rules and regulations, and what all the requirements are there. A simple example, the requirement will be that firefighting equipment should be verified or checked periodically. So whether it has been done, unless the internal auditor informs to the concerned person, he will not be able to know. So these are all things which internal auditors has to do. All these members, all the persons involved in the corporate are the stakeholders. And again, as it is compliance aspect, all the whether labor rules have been complied with, whether provident fund and other gratuity has been deposited on time, and today whether GST has been paid on time, whether all the returns have been filed, what all the rules and regulations which are required, what all the filing requirements of the company, whether all those things are done in order, or else there may be a penalty and a fine will be there. So all those things has to be avoided. So internal auditors responsibility to look into whether all these compliances have been done properly. As I said, the operational excellence based on the process, whether the process can be reviewed and can be reduced so that the operational excellence can be achieved. That is also required by the internal auditor. It's a continuous review. It is not that one time we are doing the report and giving to them, but it is the continuous. Periodically, the internal auditor has to do whether it's he has to always keep the staff who are all qualified, who knows the subject, who knows the environment, who knows the business operation. Then only they will be able to review, and whatever required, they will be able to guide the management in a right perspective, so that the management will be able to take decision which will be able to move forward. Next slide, sir. What are the changing dimensions? So it is total political economic scenario is changing. It is a market reliability. Today, if you take the market, if you can see that today's in the newspaper that car sales have been increased. And the last 2 months, you can see two-wheeler sales have been increased. How the two-wheeler sales have been increased last 2 months, though we are saying that economic downtrend and the people are not having money. Imagine some of the members are working from home, and 30%, 50% staff can come. The essential staff has to go to their offices or factory, wherever it is. And previously they were using the public transport, whether it's a bus or metro or electric train. It was not available. So what is the alternative they are having? So they have to get the transport which is economical, which they can use effectively. So in April, May and all, the two-wheeler sales has increased. And the car sales also increased today as per the today's newspaper. So the requirement, based on the requirement, cost-effective cars have been sold high. So these are all the things which management has to see, for which the internal auditor will be able to guide the management. It is not only internal auditor, but all the persons who are all involved in decision making. The marketing manager, the sales manager, and the production manager. All those things are linked by the internal auditors, and they should be able to guide properly and inform the management what is going to happen. Cyber threat. When people are working from home, the online collection and all those things are doing, not only for the staff, but also for the auditors, whether it's the internal auditors or external auditors or cost auditors. I have to get the information from the company. When they are sending the information through mail, it becomes sometimes the risk is there. And the staff overall working from home, when they are access to all this information, there may be a cyber threat. So how to protect from the cyber threat, from hacking? These are all also has to be evaluated by the internal audit and informed to the management, so that respective corrective actions can be taken. So cyber threat is one of the major area where it has been looked into. So it is a regulatory compliance and all the things which we have seen, and so it is the changing dimension is very, very important and very, very critical for the internal auditors to assess and upgrade and update their knowledge what is happening in the environment and in the scenario. Next slide. What is the key expectation? The key expectation is what they have to get and what they are supposed to do and how they are going to operate. So it evaluates the risk. So effectiveness and efficiency of operation, reliability and integrity of financial and operational information, and all those type of things they have to do. And they have to observe the target business environment, inspecting and specific risk, financial reporting and productivity strategies that are currently in place, whether any change is required, whether it is in order. Inquiring and asking questions of management personnel related to the effectiveness of current internal controls. So internal control is very much required. Unless internal control is there, fraud and other risks cannot be prevented. And confirming whether the goals and objectives of the business are being met. So all these techniques the internal auditor has to use, so that he will be able to meet the expectations of the management. So it is a multidisciplinary, multi-knowledge requirement of the professional. So internal audit team not only consists of finance professionals, chartered accountants or cost accountants or MBAs, but they should also have the person who is having technical knowledge and technical skill, operational efficiency, and that on in-depth knowledge in the operations of that particular business unit. Then only their report will be effective and efficient, and they will be able to guide the management in the right perspective. Next slide. Next slide, sir. Yeah. So how the internal audit function have been evaluated over the years. So first, to describe how the internal audit function evaluated over the years, I wish to bring to the notice of the members who are all youngsters who may not know what is happening in the accounting and finance scenario. If you take it 60s, 70s and 80s, bookkeeping was the function of accountant, and we are calling it as a total finance function. So normally it will be the big ledgers, cash book, purchase book, sales book, journal, and from that it will post it to ledger, and a trial balance will be prepared. And tallying trial balance is a very, very hard task. So at the end of the year, when the auditors are coming for statutory auditors are coming for this, and accountants will be working overnight for tallying the trial balance. It has become a total nightmare for any of the accountants if the trial balance is not tallying. And always the senior members will be knowing that always there is a joke that when the accountant says that there is a difference of 100 rupees, the MD says, okay, take the 100 rupees and to close the accounts. Like that, the jokes are also that. So the function of accountant has enlarged to during 80s and 90s to become using of the computer. They were able to get the information. So ledger, journal, and all those things are combined and was posted by the computer. So the informations were there and ensuring that accuracy, whether the computers have entry into the computer have been properly done, that has become the area of whether it's a accounting professional or the internal auditor. So always there will be internal auditor will be checking day-to-day entry whether it has gone into the right perspective, right accounts. And during 90s, more use of systems and internal information technology has been used. So, and in India and wherever it is, the business has opened up. So when the business is opened up, that has become the competition. Cost become the major issue. So how to develop the market, whether it's a geographical segment or more varieties and all those type of things. So if you take it even in India, if you take during 90s, there was only 2 or 3 cars were available, Ambassador and Fiat. Today, how many number of cars are there? Those period, when you have to get the telephone, you have to apply and you have to wait for years together to get the telephone. So even if you whisper to your friend that you want to buy a mobile, immediately there will be 10 calls coming to you saying that, sir, come to our shop, we are having this many models, this many this, and all those things. So scenario has totally changed. So instead of looking into the books and tallying and all that, the function has totally changed. If you take it again, early 2000s, 2000, 2015 and all that, more of systems have been used, more competition has come, all the information through ERP and SAP, all the packages, able to get the information, and the data analytics started gaining. You are having all the information. So the information, when you process through a systematic software, you get what information you need. You will be able to give the parameters, you can get the information and the details what is required. With that, you will be able to compile your report. So this has become an area where more of knowledge is used instead of the actual ticking or comparing or verifying. Today, artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, all those things are being used, and where the more information is available, so internal audit function has been totally changed. With the information available, by looking into the various operations and various areas, how it can be effectively improved, how the cost reduction can be done, and how the process can be made more effective. So these are things that the internal auditor has to look, and so that by effective use of internet and all the information technology, the report can become more effective and adding more value. So totally it is evolving in a new scenario where by click of the button, the information you can get, and the information has to be converted into data. Data analytics has become very important and critical, and for that you should know what is the operation area and what is the process, what are the product they are doing, how the development are taking place. So these are things which has to be looked into. And to give an example, we all know that Nokia has performing very well and all that. When they have closed, the CMD has stated one statement: we were doing well, but our competitors were way ahead. So we have to close the business. So it is the cost of doing nothing is more valuable and affecting the business and operations much more than doing the things. So the cost of not doing has to be considered, and whether this has to be done or not has to be evaluated by the internal auditors or whatever the management audit. They have to look into these aspects. That's great, please. What is the value addition beyond assurance? What is assurance? So internal auditors always has to, as I said, evaluate the risk. So how risk can be evaluated? For example, you would have seen in many of the factories and many of the things that the diesel tank and petrol tank, wherever they are using the generator, where they are using the furnace oil and all, it will be kept somewhere outside. The distance will be more, so that if anything happens to that one, it will not affect the major area, it will not affect the business. So that risk evaluation and how it has been mitigated, how it can be reduced as we look. And now we are seeing the newspaper, what happens in Neyveli lignite factory or today in Vizag. Those are the things which the auditor has to ensure proper maintenance is taking place, proper care is done, proper risk management is taking place. These are the things which the internal auditor has to evaluate and advise the management to take the corrective action. So it is, they have to do conduct the special studies and analysis of the business policies, processes and procedures, defining audit objectives, and deciding the nature and extent of the audit procedure, stating final opinions and conclusion, reporting and distributing of the findings to board and top management. These are all things which internal auditor has to follow so that value addition can be there beyond the assurance. So it is not only assurance that it is things are in order, but how to have adequate assurance and adequate things that the management can rely upon internal auditor so that they will be able to go for the decision making for the long-term planning. Because today long-term planning is very much critical, or else the business sustainability, business survival becomes the question. So sustainability of operations is very much important. So those things are the requirement of the auditors, and what are the changes taking place and how it can be useful to the company. As I said, every threat there is opportunity. How to convert the threat into opportunity? You would have read in the newspaper also that the companies whatever producing other items, whether it's in Tirupur textile units, they have started producing the mask instead of keeping closing the factory. So this is the opportunity for them. They are producing masks and be able to earn income and keep the operation going. They will be able to reward the employees and also. So these are all things. What is the changing environment? How it can be capitalized? How it can be converted into opportunity? This is what is required and to be done by the management. For that, internal audit will be very much helpful. Next slide, sir. So as far as SEBI regulations, what all things to be done? The companies has to have internal auditors, and what are the requirement? They have to report the disclosure requirements are there. So this disclosure requirement has to be met. So it is all the internal audit, internal financial control framework, and what all the risk to the management, and finding risk evaluation, and legal and all these complaints which we have discussed this one. Next slide, please. So what is a internal risk? What are the risks to be evaluated? So these are the things. So internal auditors are expected to provide recommendations for improvement in those relation opportunities or deficiencies which are to be identified. So while the management is responsible for internal controls, the internal audit activity provides assurance to the management and the audit committees that internal controls are effectively and working as intended. Internal financial control, so which is a review requirement and SEBI LODR. So whether the financial controls are in place, whether they are having a SOPs, whether those things are followed systematically by all the staff and all the management. These things has to be ensured by the internal auditor. So internal audit activities led by the chief executive or the head of internal audit. So he has to determine the scope, authority, responsibility, and interdependence of internal audit activity so that it can be useful and they will be able to perform the function, evaluate all these aspects, and able to give the proper report to the management, and which will be guiding factor for taking the decisions by the management. So an effective internal audit activity is valuable resource to the management and the board on the equivalent, and the audit committee due to its understanding of the organization as its culture, operations, and risk profile. The objectivity, skills, and knowledge of competent internal auditors can significantly add value to the organization, internal control, risk management, and governance process. What is the governance process? What are the responsibility for manager level, at the general manager level, at the operation level? So those things has to be evaluated by the internal auditor, and the performance has to be evaluated so that the management will be able to reward or take the decisions accordingly. Similarly, an effective internal audit activity can provide assurance to all the stakeholders such as regulators, employees, providers of finance, and stakeholders. The financial institutions also rely on internal auditors report. The stock valuation, periodical stock will be verified by the internal auditor. So whether the stocks are available, whether they are able to cover the adequate stock for their finances, whether the receivables of the company are adequately checked, the company is able to collect the receivables on time, whether they are able to make the payments to the suppliers on time. If the suppliers are not paid, they may not be able to supply in the next time, so that operations of the company will be held up. So the company will go for some other supplier, and where there may be a risk of quality and additional cost and all those things will be involved. So the internal auditor has to ensure that all these things are properly followed and these things are evaluated and done properly. Next slide, please. Transformation of internal audit function, risk-based internal audit approach. I wish to inform the participants that our institute, our internal auditing and assurance center, we have brought the risk-based internal auditing guidance note. So it is uploaded in our website. I will circulate it to the university so that it can be circulated to all the participants also. So it is actually a exposure draft of guidance note. We can go through it. We can give the suggestion to improve also. It will definitely adding value to you. What is the risk internal audit and cover up and all that. So these all the risk-based internal auditing will be covering the range of activities such as assessing the management of risk, assisting management in the improvement of internal controls. Why is internal audit important to your organization and activities, and evaluating controls and evaluating managers at all levels, risk evaluating and analyzing operations and conform, and working with all other assurance service providers. Who are all the assurance service providers? Whenever the insurance is to be taken, definitely the management will be discussing with them. So whether adequately covered. For example, company will be depreciating the assets. Normally the high risk assets will be depreciated much faster, but its value will be higher. So when we are taking the insurance, we have to take the original cost and what will be a replacement cost. Based on that only insurance has to be taken. Same way, the company might have added or improved the performance by adding additional spares and expensive spares and other things, so that the value of the particular machine and particular asset will be going up. These are things has to be reported by the internal auditor, so that adequate insurance can be covered and the management will not be losing if anything happens to them. So what are the risks involved? What are things to be covered? What is the adequate risk? These things has to be taken. And again, the stock level. Invariably, if you take the during the seasonal indices, the stock will be going up at the time of seasons, before the season starts. For example, sugar industry. What is the sugar crushing period? Sugar cane will be starting from December to February, March. So they will be having a huge activity during November to March or April only. After that, practically the sugar pits will be closed because they will not be getting the sugar cane. So in the March and April, the stock will be very high. So it is again the internal auditor has to evaluate that whether keeping in a bag stage will be good or further processing is good, which can be again converted to sugar easily at required time. So during the festival season, whether it's Navratri or Diwali, the requirement for sugar will be high. So they have to ensure that adequate stock is available during the seasonality, so that they will be able to manage the cash requirement and finance properly. So during November, December, for procurement of sugar cane and payment of salary and all administrative and costs, the company will be requiring funds. So they have to plan it in such a way that they have adequate funds during November to March. And from then, when the sales are taking place, they will be able to get the money. So the short-term funds has to be arranged, and when the additional funds are there, they have to plan to keep it for the future. And short-term investments also they have to evaluate, so that they are able to get a return during those periods where the excess funds are there due to additional sales. In sugar industry, same thing in textile industry, how it is going to be there. And they also have to sit with the operational people, whether the production has to be carried out in a regular way or they will be having high and low season, depends upon the requirement. So these are all the things to be evaluated by the internal auditor, since they are having hands-on experience. When I am saying internal auditor, it is the whatever the name it is called. In some companies they may not call internal auditor, they may be calling manager assessment or manager for MIS. So that function is more important, and the function only will be doing all these things. And what is the mark towards excellence? So when we are doing for the internal audit, it is you have to do the planning. At first you have to have the initiation, then planning, then knowing what is happening, then reporting and closing. So what is the plan requirement? What are all the areas where you have to cover? What is the size of the organization? What is the size of the department? If the company is having units or factories in 10 different places, how you are going to cover it? And how the visits of the staff can be planned? And in which factory there may be some risk. Some factory there may not be risk, operation may be very smooth and they may be supplying only to the next unit. So where the internal auditor has to concentrate more effectively and more time will be required, the content of knowledge is required. These are things to be evaluated and initiated, and the planning has to be done at a proper way. And then how they are going to execute it. And what is the knowledge level of the staff which is required for perform that function. It is not simply just going, looking into it and coming back. For example, I can give a simple example. In one of the factory place where I was visiting, we normally evaluate for scrap assessment, scrap rejection and rework, what is the stock available and how the production is taking place. So when going for the lunch, going to the canteen side, I have noticed that so many items have been stocked which was semi-finished goods. Then when I asked the concerned person, he said, "Sir, these are the old items to be scrapped." I said, "You are keeping it so much in the open space, and it is going to be again getting deteriorated. What will happen?" And when it is put to the management, they were selling it as a scrap, and some items can be reused. So at least it will be adding value. If it is not reported, no one will be knowing it. It will be lying as it is, and after some year, it has to be thrown out and scrap. And how the quality can be improved, how the performance can be improved, how the some of the items where the waste can be converted to valuable product, it also can be done by the internal auditors and management team. To give an example, paper mills are there. The paper mills are using the raw wood and all that. So they were whatever the waste they were throwing it originally, which is called baggers. The baggers were originally thrown out by spending money. Then they have found that the baggers can be dried up and used in the boiler for firing it. Then again, Tamil Nadu newsprint has found that these baggers can be used for making the newsprint. So originally, what is a waste has been by research and development and all those things have been converted into value-adding product. So these are all the things which are required by the management team and effective internal auditor, who should be having the effective business knowledge, how things can improve, how it can be add value to the business and all the stakeholders. And not only that, now because since baggers is not thrown, environment is also protected. So these are the things which is required to look into with the thorough knowledge and experience and expertise. Next slide, please. So data driven analytics and multidisciplinary approach. As I said, the internal auditor should have the team with various professionals, including the legal professionals and the engineers and the valuers and all those type of people. Then only they will be able to analyze and get the report in a proper form and able to get the value. So the creation of auditing procedures that are designed to detect deviating activities that may have direct effect on determination of accurate financial statement. So what is data analytics? In the data we are collecting it. When you are analyzing over a period of time for 3 months or 4 months or past period, then you will know what is a deviation. So the deviating activity has to be analyzed by the internal auditor. Why there is deviation? Whether it is due to normal cost going up or normal wastage or else they have to inquire into that and effectively analyze and what is happening and what has happened, whether it is due to any risk or this, that has to analyzed by the internal auditor. For example, sometimes the raw material cost will go up, so the material cost will be going up. Same way, whenever there is a discussion on salary increase and labor relations activities, the labor cost will be going up. And now petrol price, because of the oil price is going up, that cost may go up to the extent to be stabilized. When the oil price is dropping, same thing the internal to evaluate that whether it has been reflected in the cost, whether it has been effectively stated in the report, so that the management can take the adequate decision. So the creation of procedures designed to identify related party transactions that may have a material effect on company's financial report. So it should be a multidisciplinary, as I said. So required reporting of deviating activities to company management, the audit committees and the board of directors. So that is by data analytics, the internal auditor will be able to know it there. Referring from engaging in prohibited activities that may result in conflict of interest. So this is one of the very important area where the internal auditor has to take adequate care. So it is mandatory financial reporting on periodic basis, certificate regarding the financial reports and all those type of things. It is integrated approach which is required by the internal auditor so that it will be useful to the management and the stakeholders. So using the technology, using the knowledge and the skill, business operations, business processes. So integrated approach can be required for the internal auditors. Next slide, please. What is audit analysis? So here, what are the things, risk assessment, planning, feedback, and all those things are required. And what are the things required? It is supporting the leadership agenda, impact on value creation, evaluating skill set to meet the new role, and participation in strategy development, integrated versus siloed risk management, new focus on fraud detection and avoidance. So as we know that frauds are also happening, so how to this? So the audit analytics tool will be helping the internal auditor by looking into all those aspects so that the operational efficiency can be improved and they'll be able to report to the management what steps they have to take. So ultimate results of internal audit quality requires the uneasiness and the reduction in audit risk and reliability, so that the effective team is required and effective knowledge is required, then only they will be able to perform the function effectively. Next slide. So these are the tools which are all available for audit analytics. What are the key considerations the analytics they will be able to do? It is focus on the future. So take proactive approach to risk identification. So how things will happen, what will be this one, so that the timely detectiveness, what will happen, the red flags. That is when you are analyzing, if anything happened, the deviation is there. So those areas which have to look into. So these are the things which may have an impact on business or operations, and even it will be a critical area. So that red flags will be identified by analyzing and maximizing on audit role. So it is integrate into enterprise risk management in develop to mix of risk and compliance of based on effective audit. And risk and compliance based audit plan has to be, they have to take it. So augment skill sets with the increasing role of IT and core competence and leverage the resources. The resources are always scarce. So internal auditor cannot have so many people and so many things because always it is incurring the cost. So available resources, how effectively it can be used, how effectively they can plan it, and so that they'll be able to get all the information and analysis so that it can be, the report can be useful to the management. Focus on fraud detection and avoidance in all aspects are related to business operations. So establish an advisor role, initiative such as friend, philosopher and guide to the management. So when you are moving to the staff of the areas to get the information, you will be discussing with them as a friend and you will be guiding them so that the performance can be improved by the concerned staff. So you will be getting their suggestions, how the improvement can be done. So those things will be reported to the management. So the management can take the steps to improve the operations. So getting the feedback from the concerned workers at that level. So concerned worker will know how to improve the performance. So they may not be able to tell to the supervisor may not take it in a proper way because they may think that what is going smooth, let it go. And why should I take the risk of changing? So when internal audit is reporting to the management will be able to evaluate the impact and whether this is feasible and whether it will be really adding value. So those things are the things which internal auditor has to get it by discussing with the concerned persons and able to keep their eyes and ears open so that they can be able to inform the management so the efficiency can be increased. So they have to build continuous and capacity to influence continuous monitoring techniques. So and unless they have the monitoring techniques, they will not be able to get all these informations and all those things. So they will be able to capable of analyzing all these informations and presenting in a proper structured way to the management at the right time to the right level so that the decisions can be taken. Next slide, please. Here, today's environment, what is happening is many people are asking me the question also. So to have the practical aspects, we are all working from home, whether it's an auditor, whether it's an internal auditor or external auditor, based on the stock. So now I have to evaluate the stock. So how we can do it? So now we know that how the companies are working, whether we are getting the stock statement and where they are keeping it. So we will be asking the company to give the stock statement as on today. So from the stock statement, I will be taking some of the items at a random way. I'll ask the concerned source person to go with the webcam to the particular area and ask you to count. Through the webcam, I can ensure that whatever the number stated in the stock statement, it is available there. And these are all the things how we can use the internet and to evaluate and avoid the threat. So after now assume that the companies we are not doing it properly, whatever the statement is given, we are taking it as it is. Then after 3 months, when the things are going to be normal, when you are going there may not be stock, may not be there. Stock may become obsolete. So these are things how you are going to evaluate, how you are going to use the information technology so that you are getting the identify the what are the things and assure the correctness of the items available, quantity, correctness, value and quality, all those things. So these are practically which is possible, which you have to use the technology by using our knowledge and adding the value to the management. Any other questions I will be able to take for another 15 minutes. Any questions, please. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It is always you have to add value, be happy and healthy and prosperous and peaceful. That is what is required. Unless your mind is peaceful, you will not be able to think properly, you will not be able to perform efficiently. So peacefulness is always required, and consider all those aspects. Yes, sir.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your elaborate presentation. Totally, we have consolidated the questions and we have got 6 questions to
Yeah.
be answered. The first question is with regard to the automation of services. Will automation of auditing and accounting services result in the loss of jobs? So this is the concern from the students community. We are hearing a lot of techniques on robotic process automation of accounting services. Will we lose
Okay.
our jobs in the
To
future?
give a practical example, when the railways were computerizing, there was a resentment that, oh, if you computerize, the labor will be moved out and all those things. But it's only for increasing efficiency. When the tickets are booked online, it always there will be a staff and who has to ensure that things are moving properly. Same way when the banks are computerized, it is only operational efficiency has been increased. So now, same branch, if you take it 10, 20 years before, they were only getting the deposit loans and those type of activities. Today, the banks are involved in almost all the activities. When the ATM comes, people are thinking that customers may not go to the bank, withdraw cash and all that. But that aspect also will be that this will be ensuring that for 24 hours, you will be able to get the money from the ATMs. So always the artificial intelligence, whatever it is creating effectiveness and easiness to the people who are all going to use it. But always there is a human element which is required for monitoring all those things and ensuring that things are happening. And the further development has to take place. It is not one time only you are using it. Again, further improvement has to be there. And who will be able to do the improvement? It is the same human element, same the staff who will be upgraded and who will be adding value so that they are going to the higher up. Always, whenever the improvements are taking place, the position of the concerned staff, concerned human resources going up. So it will be only adding value. It will not eliminate eliminate employment. It will be more creating more employment opportunities by using the knowledge, technical knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the positive response. I think the students would be happy now. The second question is on the internal audit exposure. Should the internal auditor need to have exposure in the technical, engineering, or other fields? Because he has to have a comprehensive audit of the entire business entity. Alternatively, can he take advice from the experts?
Always what the knowledge is required, the academic knowledge will be giving an idea only. So with the academic knowledge, you should have a practical exposure. Getting discussed with the experts, you will be getting some ideas and all those type of things. But unless you involved in the activity, you will not be able to perform. It needs, as I said, internal audit require not only comparing the financials. It is not only looking into the numbers, but also need to be evaluate engineering aspect, process aspect, and risk evaluation. So it needs you should be a multi-skilled person and a multi-skilled team. Then only you will be able to perform. So internal audit, it's not as it is just this, and they need lot of skills and lot of knowledge. It is a multi-team which is required.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from the industry person. They want to have the clarification on the value addition services, what the internal auditors can provide in terms of the business continuity planning, such as we have got uncertain times
Yeah.
like COVID-19.
Yes.
What the internal auditor can help, how the internal auditor can help the business entity to come back to the normalcy.
Yeah, BCP, business continuity plan, is again a total subject, and we have also conducted a lot of programs. It needs a lot of things. So, for example, simple example, we are having a laptop, we are using it, and we are having all the information data stored in it, whether it's an internal audit report or whatever our requirement, including our insurance policies, house insurance, all the things are stored. And how we are going to protect it? So that should be continuity. Same way, the businesses needs, in case of COVID-like situation, what will happen and how they can protect themselves. What is the alternative available? And in the COVID in March last week, when the sudden lockdown is announced, many of the companies have found it difficult. So they have unreplaced raw material and working process which has not placed, and they have to use it in some other way. So they have to plan it how in the future if it comes this. So what is required is what are the risks involved in the operations, what are the risks there, and how the business can be continued. Transport operators, and some of the people have asked me. So all this transport operators they were using very expensive buses, we know. So when the buses have been not operated, it will get rusted and will have a technical problem. So they have to use some spare driver to go and at least start and keep it for some time, so that we will be having continuous operation. Same way the machinery is also. So the business continuity plan requires evaluating what are the processes, what are the assets they are having, and how effectively it has been used. Take the airlines. Airlines, it is having that some of the equipments are time based, and some of the equipment number of landing. And liars and wheels getting spoiled if it is standing in it was parking in a place. So how they are going to do it? How these are all the risks and how the business can be continuity, and this has to be evaluated, and it itself is a full subject. Business continuity plan itself is a full subject, and it is not only the responsibility of internal auditors, it's the management, the whole team has to look at it, and they have to plan meticulously how the operation will not be hampered, and they'll be how be able to move ahead, and the sustainability is there. Even the
Thank
growth
you.
is sustainable growth. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from the researchers community. The researchers community have listened to the lecture yesterday, where our president spoke about section 138. He said the third category of persons is other professionals which have not been defined by the company, by the Companies Act, who are all covered under the other professionals. Now they have posed the question that can the university professors or the research associates, can they indulge in the consultancy activity related to internal auditing for MSMEs?
100% they can do it. It is actually for the companies, as our Palvendra Singh yesterday highlighted, section 138, what are all the things depends upon the turnover, depends upon the whether they are borrowed from the public. For them, it is compulsory. Where, as it is stated, chartered accountants and the cost accountants can be appointed as internal auditors. And for the other companies, professors and other professionals who are all MBAs with the knowledge, they can also be appointed as an internal auditor and internal consultant. And they will be able to, in fact, with their knowledge, they'll be able to guide the management more effectively and properly. For example, the company where the internal audit is compulsory, they may be appointing a cost accountant or chartered accountant. The management also appoints a team of professionals who may not be a cost accountant or chartered accountant for their internal offices, and they may call them as manager internal audit or coordinator of internal audit, and they are engaging them and getting the idea so that the knowledge can be effectively used. It is the professional qualification is only a passport, but other experience and expertise is one which is the guiding factor for whether it's a business continuity or for the internal audit or for efficiency and effectiveness of management processes. So other professions can also do it for MSMEs, and where the statutory requirement is not there. And as per the section 138, chartered accountant can't cast one or any other professionals. So when the act has been framed, they got in mind that MBA with the finance and MBA with this also will be allowed to perform. But since adequate chartered accountants and cost accountants are there, still the government has not yet considered others. Then now we are able to meet the requirement. For the other organization, definitely the professors and value will be able to add value. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think the research and consulting scope in the college professors domain will get expanded. Now there is a question from our own member. He is questioning on the independence of the internal auditor. How far the internal auditors are independent when the company's management appoints them? This is the first part of the question. In the second part, he says most of the companies have their own internal audit department. Are they really independent? Is a question in reality.
Actually, as per the scope, the audit committee is giving the scope for the internal audit. So audit committee wants, as a stakeholder, ensure that things are going in a proper way. So internal auditor has to be independent, then only they will be able to effectively function. Even though the company, internal own department is there, they have a qualified persons, they have all the required team will be there. Whether they are engineers or chartered accountants, cost accountants, MPS, all those things are there in the internal audit department also. So they normally may not mix with the other department. So the role and decision will be practically independent. They only go for the inspection and verifying and all that. They function as an independent person only and report to the management. So we can see practically also, whenever internal audit team comes, the factory or unit will be always having a fear or worry that internal audit is coming, I got to prepare. So that awareness should be there. That is how the management should be respect internal auditors. Whatever they report, they have to consider then definitely internal auditor function can be independent. When professionals are appointed, external independent auditors are appointed. Normally, the professionals should be definitely independent. Normally, when you say that somebody is appointing, we are loyal to them to the extent only, but not at the risk of costing your professional integrity. So always integrity and knowledge and independence is required. So the professional will definitely ensure in that. To give an example, independent director being appointed to the company. So independent directors are for all practical purposes independent. But when the management appoints, are they not evaluating the board decisions? Are they not evaluating the other directors? So independence is in the mind. It is not in the who is appointing or who is there. So it is a mindset and a skill set which determines the independence and not the appointment who is appointing authority and not that. Again, the banks are appointing the stock auditors or concurrent auditors. So since they are appointing, are they not evaluating properly? So definitely they will be reporting regarding the against the management also, against the manager also if the things go wrong. Or else in the future, if it is paid for any inquiry, so internal auditor and the team will be held responsible for whatever the wrongdoing what they have not reported and what they have not highlighted. So it will be creating more embarrassing situation than being independent and report the action on time.
Thank you, sir. The myth on the internal audit has been cleared. I think the independence is held high even by the internal auditors. The
Yeah.
final question is very, very relevant to the current situation. I think last week we had a case in the Neyveli Lignite Corporation with regard to the operational excellence and safety, operation issues. Is it the duty of the internal auditor to highlight such type of lapses? And when he is highlighting such lapses in his report, will he be held responsible by the authorities later?
Yeah. So internal auditor should have reported and whether he has to ensure that whether all the complaints have been done. Normally for the boiler and all those things, the periodic inspection, periodic upgradation, all those things has been done. If it is not done, then internal auditor will be held responsible for not reporting. If it is done, that may become due to natural cause or due to other operations. So that which cannot be blamed to the internal auditors or to the management. Same thing in Vaisak steel plant, the crane has crashed. So it has to ensure that adequate safety has been taken, adequate precautions has been taken, whatever the requirement under various laws, various requirement, various guidance, even issued by the manufacturers. In some cases, the manufacturers say that every 6 months you have to change this part and inspect. Whether it has been done, followed properly. Those things has to be ensured. And again, the persons who are all operating near the machines, there are the safety requirement. Now in COVID, so all this equipment and all those things, mask and all those things has to be used. Same way when they are going to the machine where there is a high heat or fire is there, they have to have the protective eyewear. So those things, whether it is followed or not, those things has to be ensured. If you go to the some of the companies where they are following very strictly, even if someone auditors or whoever goes, they have the yellow line. You should not cross the yellow line. If you have to cross the yellow line, some of the company officials will be with you when you are going to for inspection. So these are the things which will be ensuring adequate safety, the compliance of all the requirements. Then it will not be held responsible. It's left to the guard's activity. Unless it is reported, internal auditor will be held responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have received a suggestion. Actually, with regard to the MBA course, they don't have a paper on auditing. It is completely the finance and the HR domains. So there is a professor who has shared in the comment that the subject of auditing is not covered in MBA. So he wants us to do some training on the audit for the MBA students. I think, if they approach us, I think we can provide some value-added training.
Yes, definitely we can provide value-added training, and in fact, some of our members or some of our institute can be contacted for including in the board of studies, where we can suggest a subject which is required for the management programs on internal auditing, internal auditing, and other auditing also, so that they will know what is required. Then they can develop on their own by going to the various books and all that, practical guides and all that.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I think we have come to the end of the question and answer session. There is a request from the speaker that the Internal Auditing Assurance Standards Board have released the guidance note on risk-based audit. So it is available in the institute's website. If you go to the icmi.in, you you can see a tab on the IAASB there. The first 4 items are the guidance note and the exposure drafts which are released for the public comments. The professors can look into the guidance note and give your comments on that. It will be a wonderful material for the academic training also. Thank you so much. Over to Dr. P. Revathi. Yeah.
Just one. I want to inform the members that participants that as our Rakesh Energy has said, we have released the guidance note on risk-based internal auditing, cement industry, and education sector. Education sector will be very much useful to you, and how what all the things required and how the functions can be effectively done. So that will be giving you adding value, and your suggestion will be very much valuable for me to upgrade the guidance note also. And soon we are releasing the guidance note on power sector and pharmaceutical sector and the textile industry also. So various industries and various aspects will be covering soon. You can go into our website is open and anyone can log in and get all this, download this information, and it will be really adding value for all of you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Wish you all the best. Good day. Good day.
Thank you, sir. Over to Dr. B. Revathi. Over to Dr. B. Revathi for any information to be shared to the participants, post which I can proceed with the vote of thanks.
You shall proceed with the vote of thanks, sir. Yes? You shall proceed with the vote of thanks. Is it audible to you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all the participants for being with us on a lovely Sunday. I'm sure that the domain of excellence and eminence has created an operational excellence fever in all your thoughts. You can go back to your institutions, go back to your industry and implement all these strategies. I sincerely thank our speaker for the day, CMA Raju Iyer. In spite of his busy schedule with the council and the other board meetings, he has been with us for the 1 hour. Thank you so much, sir. And also my sincere thanks to the university officials, the Vice Chancellor, the Registrar and the Organizing Secretary, Dr. B. Revathi, for sparing their valuable time to organize this event. Thank you one and all. We'll meet tomorrow again at 11 a.m. on the internal audit for educational institutions, integrating the UGC, AICT and NAC norms. Thank you all.